we are now going to share with you the story of an ISD and Edtech from Bulgaria that became part of a bigger group, Juniper Education, and they had an amazing journey with us, with AWS. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to them. So welcome, Lyubo and Gavin. I mean, I've been part of your story for the last 2 years, but I mean, there is much more onto it. So I wanted to start with the first question for you, Lyubo. Can you please introduce briefly to the audience yourself and Shkolo and your story of entrepreneurship, your journey with AWS, both as a customer and partner?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Magdu, for this invitation. So how it all started, the whole educational journey started 25 years ago, as my mother is a teacher, and I know a lot of bad practices that are happening around the globe from teacher's perspective. So back then I thought that this was normal, but when I grew up, I understood that this actually is a system bug, because we are paying teachers to teach our kids and forcing them to feel bureaucracy. So I went to university with totally technical background, worked in several IT companies, and in 2016 with my co-founders, we decided that the timing is good to create a good educational company for Bulgarian schools, where we had a mission to solve two big problems. First one was bureaucracy, and the second was parental engagement with schools and what's happening then on a daily basis. We started 2016 with different hosting provider, because it is how it is. We started, first year we had 70 schools. Next year we managed to get 300, 500, 900. And then at some point we already knew that we won't make it with this provider, and we must become more professional and modern, make the things how they should be. So we had a plan to migrate everything in April 2020, but unfortunately COVID arose, so we had to migrate everything in less than 36 hours. So we started the migration into AWS in 36 hours without any sleep, a lot of caffeine. We made this, and since then we started exploring all of the goodies that cloud can provide you compared to a non-cloud environment. For example, database management. If you're not a non-cloud provider, you need to handle everything by your own: backups, compliance, security, scalability, and all of those things. And when you're using RDS as a service, you have all of this out of the box, and you have more resource to focus on delivering value to your customers, but not optimizing your database, which indirectly offers a value to the customers. So we started with AWS back then, and we started exploring what are our... Back then we had 50% of all schools in Bulgaria working with the platform. Currently there are around 70, which translates to over 1 million unique users using the system on a monthly basis. It's kind of big for our environment. And we started what are our options with AWS. We found that there is a way to become a partner, which starts with AFTR and web architecture review, which even if you're not planning becoming a partner, I strongly advise to take it, because it's really good exercise which can show you what are your gaps in your security posture and where you can be better in it. So it's really good framework. You can try it. And we became a partners. Then we started exploring different activities during the years. We started with Think Big for Small Business, where we have a few activities there. We then made this SIMU event conference in Madrid, where we were able to co-brand Shkolo and AWS as a partner, which for some unknown brand for the specific market is really good door opener. And earlier, and we also had a P2P program where a specific consultant helped us gain more information over the LATAM market and what our expansion plan would be there, how it should be. So yeah, a lot of interesting things happened and much more to come, because from the beginning of this year we became part of Juniper Education, and now we're delivering much more value to many more customers. So I would say this is the short answer given the time frame.
Thank you, Lyubo. So Marco, I think you have a question for Lyubo.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lyubo. And I love how you are leveraging our programs and our sub-program to take advantage. So it's really good to see that. And here it goes, my next question for you. And it's what did you value most on the partnership with AWS? This is an interesting one.
What do I value most? I think I value most first the openness of conversation, so we are able to communicate with you guys whatever needed. And second is the opportunity, because it depends on each vendor to grab that opportunity and to be proactive and to be in touch with you, what's happening, how we can align, how we can help, how we can collaborate. Because working with AWS is real door opener, where I can share you a story. When we were at that SIMU event, our Spanish representative wanted to talk with high-profile potential customer in Spain. He went there on their stand. He asked them, "Hey, I'm from Shkolo. I want to talk with your boss." And he was, "He don't have time. It will be the next time." So he went back to our stand. He picked up McBew and told her, "You come with me." They went there. She said, "Hey, I'm from AWS. I want to speak with your boss for our partner." And he was, "Ooh, wait a second, I'll bring him." And in 2 minutes, the boss was there, so they can start talking. So this is really valuable. Yeah, I think this is really valuable.
Good. Thank you very much. Nice anecdote. Anyway, it's really good to see that.
Great information. I have a question, Gavin, for you. So can you please tell us a little bit more about you and Juniper Education Group as an entity, the journey, acquisitions, your focus on education, transformation of education, all that comes to your mind. And for example, how did you spot Shkolo and decided to start the acquisition process? That's really interesting part, I think.
5 years in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, like McBeal said at the beginning of this, I think even whether you're in education or you're not, pretty much everyone's been an educational stakeholder, and I've been one since I was 4 years of age. You know, we've all got that in common, and that's progressed from there to parenthood, where I've had, you know, children that have gone through that, and through my career, where I've either been involved in education delivery, technology, or more often than not, education technology. And I'm a business builder. That's what I've been doing most of my career. And I'm also someone who wants to make a difference. So one of the things I always find that's quite nice about working in the EdTech space is when you see people you haven't met for quite a long time, it's a real conversation opener. People have all got an opinion or a view, and it's because they're a stakeholder of one form or another. And Lyubo's already sort of described quite a different path in Bulgaria to what you'd see in the UK. He got the opportunity with his fellow shareholders to run into white space and work out how to scale his business, and he did that with AWS. The UK is a much more complicated place, and from an EdTech perspective, and in 2019 with investors, we looked at the schools marketplace for education technology and saw education or technology debt in education everywhere and the opportunity to make a really big difference. But the market had a really complicated range of different organizations. When you go to BET in London, you'll see 1,000 different exhibitors who give you an idea of the difficult patchwork that schools have to put together. And we just saw an opportunity to try and create something that was cleaner and to make a difference with some clear underlying needs, which are IT staples, things which are needed everywhere, things that I learned about technology, you know, from when I first got my first computer, you know, getting information from data, joining things up, providing insights, and then perhaps from a business perspective, removing overlaps and reducing wasted spend. And in the UK, since the late 80s, we've had a monopoly player, which is changing very fast at the moment, that has been had about 80 or 90% of the market and stifled innovation. And they had a product that was very wide, but not very deep in sophistication, and a big ecosystem of products arose around it. So we had to make a decision about whether to replicate that whole structure. And instead, what we did was bought the best of breed products from around the outside, and then worked out how to join them up in the middle with a common student and staff data record that we could then get information from data from. When you looked at the market, there weren't lots of bigger businesses to look at and to acquire. So we have been on a very complicated journey buying specialist businesses and all around these elements, and have had to acquire 14 different businesses to put together, the last of which has been Shkolo, drawing all of that information together. So quite a complicated environment. All of those businesses have grown up in isolation of each other, and therefore the generation of products that we're building has a far higher degree of interoperability. And because they were all quite small businesses, they were all doing their own thing, whether that be on-premise solutions or cloud-based solutions, but without any real feel for scale. And what the acquisition of Shkolo did was bring a much more classical approach to our business, where it had been able to scale with a professional provider, AWS, and we have taken advantage of that relationship and started to look between us in how the vision could work for bringing all of that together for the UK, Bulgaria, and other countries we're now looking at into a resilient solution that can scale as we go about fulfilling our business plan. So what's happened in the period since I've got to know AWS is, I think, Lyubo, like as Lyubo said, a pretty honest and open discussion about the practical realities of how we take our collection of products, weave them into a single environment, unlock the potential of all of them and their different data sets. And the reason that doesn't faze AWS is because they've seen it plenty of times before. So I'm not going to talk now about the technical elements there, but they've been a fantastic technical partner over the period that I've known them and that they've been talking. But the really interesting part for me is about the aspects which enable us to be able to work together to grow our business. And you know, Lyubo's also just shared a really lovely example of really simple example of how AWS can open doors for a smaller business like ours.
Thank you, Gavin. Yeah, it's very insightful. I would like to get also some more details on, you know, the journey after the acquisition, because, you know, we engaged in another almost 6 months journey that led to Juniper's decision to migrate your non-AWS workloads as well to AWS in parallel with continuing, you know, this partnership journey. You mentioned a lot, but can you give us a little bit more detail on this journey, on this decision? And it's not an easy decision, you know, to consolidate all these acquisitions into a new platform that probably the majority of your teams didn't use in the past.
Sure. Well, the big reference, you know, came from Lyubo, who'd had a great experience working out how to scale Shkolo. Now, Shkolo has about 1,700 customers, and the combined group has about 17,000 schools. So when we first started talking, Lyubo and I clearly could see that we needed a partner who could scale from where he currently was all the way through to that much larger number. So we knew we were going to need an infrastructure partner, and ideally someone who had the breadth to be able to do more than that for us and help the business grow as well. So that's where it started. And I think the conversations that we have had all the way through haven't felt like a large organization talking to a little organization or speaking completely different languages. The conversations have all been about trying to make sure we had a common understanding of our vision and where we were trying to go, and take any feedback about that. They've been very practical. They've been about not trying to do everything at once, but having a sort of a clear view and a clear plan. And we did consider, other infrastructure partner options. But the thing which set this conversation aside was the way that it sort of connected up the technical and the business elements for us, and made sure that we could work out how to move as fast as we want to. Every business wants to get the first mover advantage whenever it can. And there's plenty of opportunity in education technology because of the technology debt that I mentioned. So perhaps the easiest way, in my mind, that I sort of describe what AWS does for us is its sort of global growth scaffolding. So we're quite different organizations, obviously, size, focus, reach, and so on. But those differences, they're complementary for quite a useful working partnership. And in combination, you get the ability to present yourself as being an education expert, resilient, having hardened processes, scale, and being serious about finding the answers. So the combination is very strong. And, it's just really obvious from a geographic growth perspective. AWS already in any country we wish to focus on. So they're going to know people, they're going to understand the culture, the business environment, and so on. And I've got a practical example of this from the last few weeks, where I went with them to New York, went to a couple of events, built a small network in New York. We have got 3 conversations out of that with schools or people responsible for running schools in New York State, where we've been able to uncover the commonalities between the UK and the US. And on the face of it, you look at the supply to each market and they look like completely distinct environments. But when you think hard about it for a second or two, it's pretty obvious that schools have similar tasks everywhere they might go. So we're starting to understand about the applicability of our products in the US marketplace, starting to talk to people, who are doing it, who are delivering education and understanding their frustrations. And have just accelerated ourselves through months of hard work that we would have had to do on the ground ourselves to get introductions, trusted introductions, I think, where both parties in the conversations we're now having feel really comfortable sharing the issues that they have. And I suppose more generally than that, currently we focus in few geographies over, as I say, 16,500, 17,000 schools. But our ambitions include working with government, where we've already got a few conversations ongoing. And that partnership between ourselves and a global organization is the kind of relationship that gives comfort in sales type situations about the ability to deliver and about understanding the kind of resilience that a government solution is going to need. So many business reasons for making that combination work, and in the short time that we've been together, it just continues to get more and more interesting. I could go on, but
thank you, Gavin. So I have a last question for both of you. How do you see the future? The partnership, what are some of your next steps in terms of, new products, expansion outside of UK and Bulgaria and other territories?
Well, That slide that was shown a little bit earlier from Holon IQ and the research they had done there, that is a surprisingly accurate reflection of what we see day to day in schools. So schools have a real interest in trying to make sure they take all the analytics that they gather or all the data that they gather from student performance and do something really useful with it, rather than it just sit there with no great purpose. And threading that all together, understanding the student, understanding what's possible for educational delivery, and personalizing learner journeys is going to very quickly create improved learner outcomes everywhere throughout the world. So there is a really clear and tangible opportunity for big data, data insights, data analytics, and AI all to combine to make a real transformational difference here. And we want to be right at the forefront of that. And from everything I've seen, so does AWS. So that's what I would add.
Thank you. Lyubo, any closing thoughts from your side?
I would say that future is exciting, or at least I see it like this. Currently, we are preparing, we are migrating, literally as of now, all of the products that are not in AWS into AWS, following all of the best practices from security, performance, cost, and all of the possible perspectives that we can imagine. So we can have one very good real estate setup, if I can say so. And then moving forward, I think it will be much easier to enroll new products into partnership with FTR to have architected, so we can then easily start offering it to new geographies, as Gavin mentioned. So yeah, a lot of things to happen.
Great, happy to hear that, and we are here to support all your journey. Thank you very much for your time, for being with us, for being such a valuable partner. And we would like to probably have you in other sessions to hear about other success stories together. Thank you.